that is often how things work, right? Like
Very
if you
much.
just and if you say it loud enough and say it with enough confidence, and and a lot of times what people figured out, if you say it 3 times in a row, then that's even better.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. You stood behind it. There must be some truth to it, or even a sliver of truth. And then next thing you know, you've swayed somebody.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because
It
humans
sounds
can be-
good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And humans can be very suggestible.
Very.
They can be
Very.
very suggestible.
Very.
Right.
Because it's what was I think Stephen Colbert a few years ago coined this term truthiness. Right, it was like it sounds truthful,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Right.
it sounds but is
Right.
it? Is it?
Yeah.
Do we
Right,
want to
right,
build
right.
society on truth adjacency, or do we just want to build it on actual truth?
I love that.
You know?
Yeah.
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 No, a lot of people would love to be truth adjacent. A lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, it serves the people who it serves.
Yeah.
It does.
And
Yeah.
we can see it very clearly.
Yeah.
And we see them cashing in their rewards.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so talk about that. Like, what is if you have a leader, the person who's serving the benefit
Yeah.
from saying the thing that is truth adjacent,
Yes.
and that person has an audience,
Yes.
right? And then, but the people that are listening to that, they're not going to be the beneficiaries to it,
Right.
but they buy into it anyway.
Right.
What's up with that?
People select their pastors. People
Wow.
select their kings.
Wow.
Select the pastors that you want. You select the kings that you want, and then you get what you get.
You get what you get, unless it's for the destruction of all things, that's what you get. And then you don't get another choice later on because everything else is gone.
Right. Because then you've eliminated your own voice.
Yes.
Because of what you have selected.
Yeah. There
Right?
you go.
If you select someone because you realize, or as an individual, you realize that certain people embody certain characteristics. And if one of those characteristics that we gravitate toward is, hey, I like that person is capable of muting these other voices.
Right.
Well, that's great until that person begins to mute your voice.
That's it.
Right.
That's
But
it.
once you have put them in that position of power, you've selected your king.
You sure have.
So, and I find that very interesting against the backdrop of humanity, specifically the United States,
Yeah.
because we have such a large population here in the States
Yeah.
that was literally derived from people who were fleeing Europe
That's right.
because of tyrannical influence
Yep.
over the population.
Yep.
And those people had been impoverished.
Yep.
They've been targeted. They've been
Yeah.
persecuted.
Yeah.
And some of those same people left there,
Yeah.
came to the New Hope
Mhm.
over here in
Yeah.
the States
Yeah.
and infringed on other people's lands and property. But they came over here to rebuild. And what they have rebuilt is the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same scenario.
Yeah.
Unless we select a different type of person
Yeah.
and structure for our leadership. But it's all character based.
It is.
It's all based on character.
Yeah, it really is. That's powerful and sad.
Yeah. And I was, it's interesting to hear some of the narratives now, right? And often you hear people like, how do I combat this? If I hear somebody who's talking about America first,
Yeah.
and I think for a lot of us, we feel like there's a whole encyclopedia of reasons why this is bad,
Yep.
right? But they ain't ready to hear that.
Right.
They're not trying to hear that. Like, what is the thing that you can respond to that person with? Because they're just responding in emotion, and they're sort of following that. I don't know. It's like you're using the word false prophet, right? Is
It's in there.
is
It's hinted in there.
is there a false prophet, right? Where we have somebody who's perpetrating a message, and we don't know if they believe it or not, but they certainly are the beneficiary of that, right? And what you have the persecuted people who in the past they were the ones that being persecuted, and now they're the beneficiaries.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
how do you have that conversation with that person?
I typically don't have that conversation with that person because they're below my standards of even having a conversation. Sometimes they'll try to direct something at me. If I allow them to have the first word, I say, I've listened to what you said. I'm hearing you say this. Verify that that's what they said. And then I start to respond. Typically at that point, they try to cut me off. That's when I say conversation's done, turn my back, walk away from it and said, you're not worth my time. You're not worth my energy. I do. I cut them off just like that.
Yes.
Because my mom always taught me, if you're playing around with pigs in the mud, that's on you. You're the one who got in the mud with those pigs. So don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it.
Yes.
So,
And I'm a huge proponent of not playing with pigs in the mud.
hey,
I don't prefer mud, and I'm not very fond of pigs.
hey.
So the truth of the matter is, I want to be in a very different part of the farm, personally, and also I think that sometimes there's a response required, because if we're saying America first,
That's what I'm saying.
if we're saying America first, well then let's get it honest. First, let's define what is America, because the United States of America is not the same thing as all of America.
That's
Right?
exactly
Because
right.
Canada is a part of North America.
That's right.
And Mexico is a part of North.
Yeah.
And if we think about, okay, well, what does that mean in terms of humanity?
Yeah.
Okay. Like there are people that constitute that geography. If we're thinking about continental United States, there are people that compose that.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking about the people that compose America and we want to put those people first, well, then now what are those key performance indicators that we're tracking to see how are those lives of those people positively being influenced by our strategy?
What are the results of your strategy?
What are we tracking toward?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it's rhetoric, if it is, a fantastic idea,
Right.
that's one thing. If we're tracking whether or not people are able to eat healthy, well-rounded meals that are well seasoned and culturally influenced, that bring joy and loving emotions to the table, that's a very, very different performance indicator than the number of people we have crossing a border. Okay. And when we start developing strategy, how positively are we developing strategy? Because we could develop people who are coming in to this country. We could meet them with hospitality. We could meet them with food. We could meet them with, a very nice stay somewhere where they are then acclimated to what it actually takes to come on board in this country.
Yeah, the on-ramp.
Right. We don't have to meet people with cages. We don't have to meet people with armor. We don't have to meet people with barbed wire. We don't have to. That's just the imagination.
Yep.
We could also meet them with a warm meal, a warm bed, right? We can meet them with real brochures, real information, and we could also help them craft a path either into the country or back home. If what we're really wanting to do is put America, the people, first. Because that requires a higher level of mentality, and the positive mentality is what's going to really make people cohesive. But if what we're doing is we're going in with the goal of treating people as though they are criminal, as though they are less worthy of comfort,
Right.
well, then you get what you get.
Right. So given that those are the key words in the dialogue that typically permeates the airwaves, right? You mentioned criminal, you mentioned a lot of other elements that are playing themselves out.
Right.
When that starts to manifest, I really have to check the gumption. I really have to check the intestinal fortitude of the typical American person. When they see it happening, they know that they could be next in line. And frankly, I grew up with the mindset, if I needed to have a conviction about something, I'm ready to step up and step into the firing line and say, this is what's right. This is how things should be going. Do you guys even realize the insanity that you're presenting here? And let people know straight up. That's just me. Different people have different ways of operating. And I think that's the sad part.
Yes.
Because so many people, and you've heard me say this before, Bryce, so many people have the sheep versus sheep herder mentality. And if you have 90% of the people that are sheep and 10% that are either sheep herders or landowners of the whole farm, then it's a whole mess of wax that's getting turned upside down because the sheep don't even feel empowered
Right.
to even step up and say what they needed to say.
Right.
It's kind of what we were talking about downstairs about the elephants being tied to a tree as a baby elephant. By the time they get to be a full-grown elephant, they still think they're tied to a tree and can't break loose. And that's learned helplessness.
Yeah.
And because of that, so many people feel, I better go run and hide versus stand up and fight for our rights. Because the next thing you know, everyone else is going to be getting cut off. It showed itself at Hitler. It showed itself with people like Henry Ford. It showed itself so many different times through history. And depending upon what cave dweller you allow to write the history for this current event, you're bound by that to be reflecting something that wasn't actually true, but that's how they want to depict it.
Right.
And we really have to be bigger and better about how we're calling things to action, fighting back, and making our voices heard.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what you called out was a really good highlight, which is looking at the documented histories where we see like the archetypes play out.
Right.
And if we jump back into the annals of history and think through, okay, well, are there any archetypes that showcase how it works well? Right. If we pick, I'm a huge fan, of course, the Holy Bible, right? So if we pick something from that text, the derivative of the Jewish population, King David, right? King David was not always king.
Yeah.
King David started out as a shepherd.
Yep.
Okay. So the way that we think about the sheep, if we think that the sheep are easily manipulated and therefore thus we need to manipulate them,
Right.
that's the problem.
As opposed to care for them.
As opposed to care for them, as opposed to protect the sheep, as opposed to provide for the sheep,
Yeah.
as opposed to treat the sheep like they are also family,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that is the job of the shepherd. Why? Because it makes
true.
sense to have healthy sheep.
Yeah.
It makes sense to have sheep with regulated nervous systems that are
Yeah.
not constantly in fear,
Yeah.
right? That's why the shepherd's job exists.
Yeah.
So when you go from being a shepherd who is diligent at caring for sheep, then yeah, you can become a King David because you were already consistent in showing up for essentially the least of these,
Yeah.
right? So how much easier is it for you to show up for actual human people when it's necessary? And that is the reason why when David made the error in mistreating other humanity, right? That's what we see with Bathsheba. That's what we see with Uriah.
Yeah.
When we see King David make that misstep,
Mm-hmm.
then David is opposed by his God, because then, hold up,
Yeah.
the whole objective here is caring for humanity. And there's a way to do it, right?
Yep.
And then there's a way that it absolutely goes completely to pot.
Absolutely. It goes sideways, and there's so much evidence of things going sideways and the impact of things going sideways, how quickly it can go sideways. Even if your intent was to still do this, if you got distracted, went off course, you got to say, I'm going to right the ship.
Right.
And for David, at the different points of trying to repent and say, I should not have done that, I've got to right the ship, etc., still using David, those are evidence as to how they all played out. But when he was doing the right thing, massive amounts of support, massive amounts of power could come about. When a little kid is able to knock out a giant,
Yes.
that's massive.
Right.
So how can anyone with a good strategic mind, since we're using the word strategic, think that to do that? I mean, I know the answer already. It's because of their overall motives and the overall goal that they're working toward. But for the masses, why don't more people acknowledge the scenario, even the metaphor that you used of shepherds being sheep, caring for the sheep, nurturing the sheep, and then all the people working together having a healthy herd? It's just amazing because that whole scenario is there. It's so much evidence as to how we can and could be doing better, but people are withdrawing as opposed to stepping up to leadership.
Right.
So
I want to speak to that note. It's happening for a very specific reason.
okay,
Dysregulated nervous systems create suggestible people.
absolutely.
So that's a fact
Yes.
that
What is a dysregulated nervous system?
the example that you gave about tying the elephant to the pole.
Oh, okay, sure.
Right?
So yeah,
That creates a limitation in the literal nervous experience for the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like neurologically speaking,
Mhm.
that elephant has not been trained to go beyond a certain neurological experience
right,
as it relates to its own geography either.
right.
Or its own.
Sorry,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, or animals in a maze. Every time they come to a certain point, they get shocked. See,
Mhm.
even when the shock is turned off, they're not going to go up to that point
Mhm.
because they've been so disoriented by that they now think that's a limit that I can't cross. That's a barrier that's,
The nervous system becomes trained
yeah,
for that response and for that limit.
yeah.
I think
Mhm.
I think we are all guilty of that constantly, right? We we grow and we develop, and we are pattern developing sentience,
Yes.
right?
True.
Yes.
True.
And so if we see a pattern repeatedly, that pattern becomes ingrained
Mm-hmm.
in what, like, it would be really difficult for me just to drive down the street and go straight through a red light, right? Like it's learned behavior to, if
Right.
I see a red light, I'm stopping. Well, I guess we're in Houston. Not everybody stops for red lights in
That's right.
Houston.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But
Yes.
you could actually flip that around to say, I see yellow and red. Now my learned behavior is to gun it.
Yeah.
Right, like I'm good.
Yeah.
There's still room. I can still make it through.
Yep.
Right, and so that maybe that's sort of like, that's a dysregulated behavior, right?
Right.
That does, it's not rational to say I see a red light, so that's my cue to gun it and go through.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's
Right.
a very risky behavior, but
Yeah.
you see it constantly. People
Yeah.
are constantly doing that. Right.
Constantly. Agreed.
And so my question, so, one of the things that we were sort of exploring is this idea around me problems.
Mhm.
Right. And we have individuals, people that have they get to a thing in life and they're stuck. Maybe they have some big question and they just can't get that question answered and move on.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of times it's because I think we have some of this behavior that's just sort of burned in. We've been tied. We're the elephant that's
Yeah.
been tied to the post.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we grow up, when we're an adult, we can go any direction, but that's kind of scary. Like, which direction should I go, right? And so, what would be your advice to that person who has met this life challenge of some sort, and they're trying to conquer this problem? How, if you are that elephant that has just been released but is too scared to walk away, what do you tell that person?
First of all, awesome for recognizing that there's something to walk away from. Like, first off, congratulations, because many people don't get to that point.
I think many people don't. That's a super interesting point. I think many people don't recognize that they have.
Right.
The reality is that they have been they're not actually tied to the post, but people feel as though they are.
Correct.
And they're not. That is the struggle. They're not sure what to do next, right? And if you could go into it with greenfield thinking, it's like, I can go in any direction,
Right.
but something's keeping me back.
Right.
What's keeping me back?
Right.
Right.
Well, you ask, what would I say? First, I believe it's a healthy practice to understand, why were you tied to the post?
Yeah.
Were you tied to the post?
What is the post?
Right. Why were you tied to this
Wow.
post? I think is a really great question for the individual that realizes that now they are no longer tied to the post. And I think that that's a really great question to ask, because that's me working to solve a me problem. I don't have to go and look at anyone else to begin the process of considering, why was I tied to the post in the first place, right? And if I'm an elephant that is sentient, and I'm thinking, is it possible? Like, let me evaluate the post. What was the size of the post? What was the size of the rope, right? What was the amount of give that I had? Or what would be dangerous? What would be the problem with me being free, right?
Yeah.
If I then begin to realize I'm this huge elephant, and the post was only there to train me to stay,
Right.
well, then now that gives me a frame of reference for how many possibilities could lie on the horizon in that green field.
Yeah.
So now when I go to look at the green field, I have some context, a little bit of context, and I can use my own self as the gauge for how I engage that green field now. But that's only when I look and I consider, why was I tied to the post? What powers might have been contained? Let me look inside myself and see what is in there. What's in there now? Well, I've got this strength, right? Because I was pulling at the post probably at some point. So I've got some strength embedded. right? What can I do with that?
Mm-hmm.
Then use that as the method, the lens, to start exploring the green field and start letting things in. Sometimes that can be a slow process. Sometimes it's a free-for-all. But in my opinion, what I would encourage someone to do is start with the self-reflection.
Got to.
And then start identifying how are we going to use those learnings to start tackling small items in this green field. And just how we get one toe in the water. Then how do we take a step, right? And start small and confirm that green field is exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent.
I love this analogy because I think a lot of people don't recognize the post is there.
Right.
They're just tied to a post and stuck.
Yeah.
And I think it's conversations like this where you can, what is your post?
Right.
What is your post?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That's a really good question. Yes.
Yeah. What is your post? What is your leash?
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah. Agreed.
I think it makes me think of a time when I was learning to drive.
Okay.
I was learning to drive kind of in country in the rural part of Houston. Right. So not a lot of people on the road.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And my father would encourage me many times very heavily, please stay in your lane on this two lane. Right. It's one direction and it's one direction going the other way. And that's all we got, buddy.
Yeah.
So let's not cross it. Well, that frustrated me to try and stay in those lanes because I didn't see any other cars. And those other cars did not matter to me because of that little line. Just because you painted a yellow line on the middle of that road, that's still road. That's open road.
That's good concrete on the other side.
Exactly right.
That's good. I don't have to be in this one lane stressed out about the ditch on the one side and a yellow line.
Yeah.
That's just a yellow line.
The ditch is a problem.
Right, the ditch is an issue. The line is not the issue.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Well, my dad was really adamant about teaching the rules of the road, which is great. However, I lived in a different place. I lived in a place where I didn't even like the idea. I liked driving, but I didn't even like the idea of roads.
Okay.
I would consider society that didn't rest on cars at all. Like what does it look like to not even have this road?
You mean your imagination flew to like the Jetsons or something?
Exactly, because that's where I was. I grew up with that, right?
Okay.
So my imagination goes to flying. It goes to hoverboards. It goes to all of those things. Like, why are we even stuck? And I'm having to stay in between a yellow line and a ditch, buddy. Like that doesn't even make sense. And also valid points for that.
Yeah.
And also very valid points for the human imagination.
True.
Very valid, because how do we get from a society that has built all of these road systems in the way that we have to a society that has different modes of transportation that might be better serving of humanity? True. And a lot of that has to do with the limited beliefs and the limited exploration that we have. So when we teach our children and when we ourselves submit to learning how to stay in between the yellow line and the ditch, and we just accept that for what it is, but we don't explore what does this look like? What does this scenario look like if there's no road?
Dude,
in the first place. Like, how do we get there?
Yeah.
Then I'm not dealing with a ditch or a yellow line or the stress from my dad. Or and he is very stressed, during that process.
Sure.
The
driving teacher is always stressed.
Right. But there are those in our society that have to hold.
Yeah.
That right, because we have to maintain some measure of order as we grow.
Is it order or is it control?
Oh, now I think that depends on who's doing the management.
Okay.
Right. If we've got an older generation that is maintaining a status quo and not allowing exploration. They're just maintaining the limitation.
Okay.
Right? Well, then, that's control.
Mm-hmm.
That's programming.
Mm-hmm.
But if we've got an older generation that's saying, hey, this is the way that we've done it, and it has served us, and I need you to learn how this works, but learn how this works for the purpose of you learning how we could do it differently. And then that older generation become willing to learn from younger or different generations, or even that generation partnering in the innovation.
Yeah.
Right. Then we've got a very different scenario where we can acknowledge the yellow line, we can acknowledge the ditch, but we can also build with intentionality for a different future.
Yeah.
And that changes the game.
It does change the game.
Because the ditch is really there.
The ditch
The
is
ditch is
really
there.
there.
You will lose an
Yes,
axle.
yes.
You lose a tire, you lose an axle, you lose a
I
life.
ran in the ditch before.
Yes.
I had an issue with the ditch.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so I don't mind transgressing the yellow line.
Exactly
But
right.
there's certain
But-
people that are just like, I can't be held back. I'm driving into this ditch,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
There's and a lot of times that doesn't work out too well, right? That-
Exactly right.
you. So you
Yeah.
brought up the sense of control, right?
Yeah,
And we talked a little bit about this
Sure.
yesterday, right?
yep.
And that's an interesting topic. Let's dive into that. So it's I heard a thing here recently that was super interesting that said in the history of humankind, at no point have we ever had greater control over our environment than we do today.
Wow, that was a real statement.
Yes, like right now we're sitting in an air-conditioned room. We're not sitting in the rain.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We have lighting that we can command at our beck and call. Just hit a
True.
switch and let there be light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I'm hungry, I can just walk over there and grab a snack.
Yep.
Right. I'm not looking for food. I know exactly where the food's coming from.
Yeah.
I've got a nice comfortable chair that I'm sitting on. When I'm ready to go, I'm going to jump in this metal box that's going to take me 70 miles an hour down the road. This chariot that's awaiting for me.
That's
Yes.
it.
That can take me to all from here to, if I want to drive to California,
Yeah.
I'll be there in a day or two, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
at no point in human history have we ever had more control over our environment than we do today. Yet, we feel the most anxious than we ever have simultaneously. It's an interesting paradox.
Okay.
Right.
It is.
Some
Sure,
may
yes.
say there is it's maybe our expectations that we expect to have full control over our environment, but not all things can be controlled, right? And they said something interesting that not only cannot all things be controlled, but the things that we value the most, that we appreciate the things that bring the most value and meaning to our lives are the things that we don't have any control over.
Yeah. I think that last point is actually the most poignant point there, and I think from that point we could explore the whole statement because there are layers to that, right? We do have a lot of control. We express a lot of control over our environment, and also, arguably, there are civilizations tens of thousands of years past that manipulated natural environment in ways that we have no idea how to replicate today,
Exactly right.
scientifically speaking. Like there are edifices that were built
There you go.
20,000 plus years ago
Yeah.
that are still standing,
Yeah.
and there's no current understanding in our current civilization that's broad reaching. How did they do that joinery?
Exactly right.
Right? How were the pyramids actually developed? We've got a lot of hypotheses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, is anybody doing what? No, nobody's doing that. No,
Nobody's
we
building
built
one.
we
I haven't
got
seen
the
the new
Empire.
Sphinx. I haven't seen a
You
new
know,
pyramid.
Right.
Like
No.
we got an Empire
Yeah.
State Building. We
Yeah.
got an Eiffel Tower. But
Yeah.
I've not seen us develop a new pyramid.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there is a missing link.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's really anchored in on that last point that you said, which is how are we keeping the main thing the main thing? Because the main thing is these relationships that we do not have control over.
That's it.
We have
There you go.
contribution
Yeah.
toward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we were to center relationship, well, then we would have to stop controlling our environment so much. In order to healthfully engage in relationship meaningfully, then we've got to cut out some of the other stuff that requires so much of our attention and then results in almost a superficial. I was having a conversation with a loved one recently when I was thinking through out in the suburbs, these houses that are being developed. And I was just thinking, man, we're paying a lot of money for drywall. We're paying a lot of money for drywall and like wood sticks. And there were literal societies made out of stone.
Yeah.
And that just, I mean, I get it, you know, a $250,000, $1 million for your drywall and wood stick edifice. Got it. And also, there are some stone civilizations, like the entire city, not just a neighborhood, but the whole city was made out of things that have lasted for thousands of years.
Yes.
We could go back today and reoccupy some of the architecture that was done thousands of years ago. So if we're, and you want me to give you $850,000 for 4,000 square feet of drywall and wood sticks. I mean,
it's going to last for 50 years at best.
And need a new roof after
Along
5.
That's exactly right.
Right. Yeah. And then we've got to do this air conditioning thing where, you know, they have technologies that design the structures in a way that worked with nature to keep the inside cool. Where's the prioritization? When we are working to craft the environment, are we crafting environments that allow us to focus on nurturing human connection? Are we crafting environments and atmospheres that allow us to feel safe and feel comfortable, but completely remove and sterilize what is actually important in the human experience?
What I hear you saying, and I love that reminder, is that we used to know how to build things within nature that coalesced with nature. Right. That
the environment, we weren't controlling the environment, we were working with it.
We were working with it. We weren't controlling nature, we were working with it. Right?
So we do have a lot of control today.
Yes.
We got plenty of control and terrible human relationships, terrible appreciation of what's going on in the cosmos, right? We're not paying attention as much to what's happening in the animal kingdom that we could be, like we could be working with the animal kingdom. In many different ways, right? And we're losing much of that. And also, we do have comfortable chairs. We have great lighting, and we've got amazing AC. And I love AC. And also, what are our priorities?
The thing that you made me think of is that we have this sense of control, that we have this air-conditioned space until the electrical grid goes down, and then it's chaos.
That's a word.
Then it's chaos, right? Like we become because we have this sense of control, then within certain parameters, we have very high degree of control. But as soon as we move outside of that parameter, we become exceedingly fragile.
Right.
Because we don't have any capacity to live outside of what our boundary of control is.
The pole.
The pole.
Yes.
There
it is. Pole, baby.
It's the pole.
It's the pole. Back to the pole, man.
Yes.
It's the pole. And somebody else is, I mean, we say we have a lot of control over the environment. And also the reality is many of the lay people don't actually have control over that environment, right? Because that's how we know when the power grid go down. Right. Well,
suddenly you realize how little control you have.
That's exactly right.
Right. Like I can go on. I can flip on these lights at any given moment. If Centerpoint go down, baby, that's it. It's a wrap.
Exactly.
You know,
it's a wrap.
Unless I've got some solar stuff going on and some, you know, I worked and finagled. How I need to independently. Outside of that, there's a lot of dependency.
The reaction to crises like that, of losing the electricity, having the grid go down, some people aren't even willing to look at the redundancy of what can be there to at least help me in the interim.
Can we say not what can be there, what has been there?
Thank you.
Actually,
that works for me.
Because a lot of times when I hear conversations like this, when I hear the detractors, many of the detractors talk about this like we're talking about nirvana, like we're talking about building heaven on earth, which is, I mean, I think that's a warranted thought too. But this has already been done. Like this is not this is not net new.
Right.
This is
without
old
power
science.
Grids. That's exactly right.
Like this is old stuff. That the powers that be can't make as much money off of in the long term.
And there it is.
Right, because if we're building these drywall and wood stick edifices,
Yeah,
well, we can charge for their depreciation and we can charge as they dilapidate.
that's exactly right.
Right, because then now you need us to come in and help you rebuild it, right? But if we've built a civilization out of stone that's going to last for thousands of years, well, you're not going to come back and charge me again after 50.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know what's interesting? You made me think
But I want to get back to your point about the can too.
Okay.
Like what
Okay.
we can.
No. We're good. We're good.
I want to double down on that point because I heard something here recently about this notion of fasting. And there's very little scientific evidence, very little scientific studies that have been done studying fasting.
Okay. So you're talking about when people specifically say, I'm going to fast this many hours, and they incorporate that into their game plan of how they live and such?
Or a couple days or a week or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
I'm gonna fast for the next 3 days.
Okay.
So what are
Okay.
you doing when you're fasting?
Me personally, I'm so focused on something that it has my attention so much that I know and trust I'm sustained. I've eaten enough beforehand. I am now focused on this task and I can bury myself in this task, this prayer, this focus.
Yeah.
Therefore, when I'm done with that time of fasting, I have finished my engagement with this other priority. That's how it works for me.
Yeah.
But when I think about people doing micro fasts and all that kind of stuff, which has become a fad, I think, it's ludicrous in that you think you're going to pivot for that amount of time, really give your attention and get something accomplished. To me, it's more a case of just prioritize your day and then pivot to the next thing and prioritize, etc. Frankly, if you get so engaged in things, haven't you ever lost yourself in your work and say, wow, I forgot to eat breakfast and lunch?
Yeah.
Instead of intentionally walking in and saying, I'm going to fast today. I'd prefer to go in and say, it's a priority for me to get something done, do it, lose myself in it, get it accomplished, and then realize at the end, man, I got that done. Now I can go eat a hearty meal because I took care of what was in front of me to get done.
That's-
wisdom.
yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Love that.
Yes.
That's a different angle than what I was stating, but
Okay.
what I heard this one person articulating that the reason why there are very, very few scientific studies about the benefits of fasting is because inherently what you are doing while you are fasting is not consuming anything. And as a result, nobody can make money from fasting.
So it's all about the economy and the economics and
You
capitalism.
can't
That's freaking brilliant.
you can't go to the grocery store and buy a fasting kit.
but you know what? I'm actually
funny.
glad that you went through the description of fasting and the meaningfulness, because
Yeah.
against that backdrop,
Yeah.
that's huge. Because
Yeah.
how much could we accomplish by simply removing a focus from consumption?
Yeah.
That's
And I mean, even for short spaces of time, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, because what you were talking about, you weren't talking about fasting for a month. You were talking about 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lose myself
Yeah.
in this task, 3 days,
That's it.
boom, knock
That's
that
it.
out. If we
Yeah.
were to do that in a corporate environment and atmosphere, intending ourselves to some development, right? Well, now we're corporately dropping the mindset of consumption.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now the limits are off.
Hmm.
Now that opens us up to look at the green field
Yeah.
and start welcoming ideas from the green field.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That is really a valid piece. No, relevant piece. I'm thinking of 2 different news stories I've read recently. One, there's a new mayor of Philadelphia elected who said, I appreciate the fact that during COVID, we all had to be in separate spaces. I appreciate the fact that a lot of the buildings in downtown Philadelphia were vacant. But for the sake of our economy, I'm saying everyone needs to start coming back into work at least several days a week because there are stores that need to open and people need to be making money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Talking about economy, thinking about capitalism, all of that. People are saying, what about our health? And we actually work better when we're doing it the other way. She says, well, no, there's another part of the economy I really want to kickstart. It's like, okay, so that's what you're going to tell us we have to do. She says, well, at the end of the day, yeah, that's what I'm going to tell you have to do. Some people quit their jobs. Some people said, I'm going to do something different. Some people said, let's argue more about this. But the mere fact that it wasn't just a smooth and easy pivot back. Frankly, COVID showed me personally, I don't know about you guys, but COVID showed me personally that you can do a lot of things remote. You can do a lot of things without consuming what you used to consume. And you still can be progressive, sustained, disciplined, and actually have a schedule, right? And get those things done. Frankly, it helped me maintain my sanity by being able to be focused in the house, because I had other people telling me, if you walk outside of the house, you're more prone to drop over dead because we don't know where this illness is coming from. That's how COVID started, right? And then they were also throwing in the piece, if you're a person of color, you're more likely to die if you're walking around in the air during COVID. I was like, good Lord. So I really had to stop right there and buckle down and double down on being resilient and saying, I'm going to figure out for me how to get through this. And it frankly became one of the slogans I even have on my business cards. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And when I really started focusing on scheduling priorities, I was able to get through days, get things done, and I wasn't all thinking about somebody reacting and telling me I had to be in a building next to someone else who's coughing. So, I don't know.
I wholeheartedly align. There's COVID to me really exposed to the world, and perhaps not cognitively so, but also with a background in strategy, in corporate strategy, right? When I think about economy, I think about economy a little bit different than economists think about economy. Because as a corporate strategist, I'm thinking about human behaviors. Right? Which is, you resonate with all of this, so right?
That's all good.
But when we think about the economy that was being referenced in your example, what was being referenced was a certain set of patterns of human behavior. Right? These companies are responsible for moving these products. There's a certain flow of mercantilism that's happening. And in order for that particular flow of mercantilism to continue, such that the people who are enriched by that mercantilism continue to be enriched, right? We need the people who participate in that value chain to continue to deliver what you deliver into that value chain, whether it serves you or not.
Are you saying the shepherd needed to herd the sheep over a certain direction?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So what it exposed was a phantom economy, because real, true blue economy does not depend on structured mercantilism, because if your product is that good, the demand is going to be there for it, right? Not if your product is artificially demanded because you've restrained resources at the top. You've intended a bottleneck of resources, right? Therefore, that's what a monopoly is. That's what an oligarchy is, right? And those things exist as full economic systems too.
They do.
With diversity at the top of those economic systems, and also even the diversity that exists within them are monolithic. And they require monolithic behavior from all of the people who contributed to that particular value chain.
For sustainability.
For sustainability. Because outside of that, humans know how to get what we need. We know how to get things done. I grew up in a school where we celebrated the pioneer mindset. We had Pioneer Day where we learned how to make our own butter. We learned how to make candles. We learned how to do agriculture. We learned these things, right? Because it was crucial for us to know, right? How do you go out and plant corn, right? When it's time for harvest, how do you go and pick it? And then, important to when you get in the kitchen, what do you do with it so it tastes like something? Right? Well, separated from the ability to actually work within nature and work with other human people, when it becomes sterile, well, then we create a phantom economy, and we can say, hey, listen, and it's nice for you to be able to work from home, but in order for this whole thing to kind of keep running the way that it's running, you actually have to listen to us, and you can't do what you want to do because we have this yellow line and we've got this ditch on the other side.
There it is, the ditch and the yellow line. Right. You're right. You're right.
You're
right, man. You're right. Good stuff.
Do we want to? I've got one more.
Go ahead.
Area or we could wrap it.
Let's give it a go.
All right. I think you're gonna like
until they come pounding on the door.
I think you're gonna like this one. So, the last time we spoke, you guys lit up when we started talking about resonance, and vibration, and harmony, right? And we were talking about this topic of control just a minute ago.
Yes.
And if you are a musician, right, and you are a member of a band,
I play
there
that
is
role, yeah.
there is a harmony that gets created while you're playing music.
Mhm.
And either you can join the harmony or not.
Mhm.
If you choose to join the harmony, you are a part of that harmony,
Indeed.
right?
Yeah.
And then once the song is over, it's gone. You are no longer, there is no more harmony to join. You can't control being part of the harmony. It's just there, and you
Okay.
have to
Play your part.
You have to play your
Yeah.
part.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I'm going to say back to you what I think I hear you saying. In playing your part, making harmony, melody, harmony together, working toward a set number of measures, etc., working toward a completion of a tune, even in the midst of improvisation, in the midst of it, can still be a real alignment of different voices, different instruments, all coming together, playing. So that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful event, beautiful moment, very beautiful series of moments.
It's a real thing that's happening.
It
It's
is.
tangible.
It is.
It's
very
happening.
tangible. Very tangible.
But it's
So,
fleeting.
It is fleeting.
As soon as it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
You can even hum about it afterwards because you enjoyed it. You enjoyed the tune.
You can reflect back
There it is.
in what you experienced.
Okay. The
But you
experience.
are no longer part
In the
of
moment.
in the moment.
The moment's gone.
Moment's gone.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And as we were sort of talking about it being, I loved what you said a minute ago about it's not that we know how to do that now. We've been doing that. We've
Mhm.
always been doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if we are going to be stewards of this planet, right, to be in harmony with the planet
Mhm.
and be in harmony with the universe and what the world offers us, right, there is a vibration that's happening.
Yeah.
And we can choose to be a part of it
Right.
or not.
Yeah.
And and we have to be in tune to what that is in order to join it.
Mhm.
There is a very specific culture group that has mastery over exactly what you're describing.
Mhm.
Not only achieving vibrational harmony, but maintaining it
Mhm.
before, during, and after the song, recreating moments. And it's very interesting that this particular culture group does not have more spotlight in that particular truth. It's my opinion that it's really actually very egregious that we don't globally highlight this particular cultural group.
Okay.
And we see it so clearly in Black America.
Mhm.
So clearly in Black America. Because when we look at the current indigenous African peoples,
Mhm.
we see the ability to harmonize.
True.
We see the ability to get on one accord and get in that vibration, right? But what's amazing to me is when we see the Black American, we also see that same ability. But there's been a very, very big difference between ownership and access to resources, right? The Black American family, the genealogy, they've experienced very much intentional disruption of their harmony.
Yes.
The like documented
Yeah.
historically,
Yeah.
the most forceful, most intentional, most organized, most strategic efforts to disharmonize and disarm that community from its harmony and its aptitude even toward harmonic vibration, and yet has not been stopped. Hope has not been eliminated.
That's right.
The ability to vibrate in harmony has not been eliminated. In fact, when we look deeply at the Black American community, we see people like Michael Jordan. We see people like Barbara Jordan. We see people like Aretha Franklin. We see people like Kirk Franklin. We see people like Beyonce and Jay-Z and LeBron and Kobe and Simone Biles and Dominique Dawes
Mm.
and Gabby. We see now all of those folks that I just named, they came from family lines. They came from they came from communities
Mhm.
of folks. Some of them more harmonic communities and not exclusively Black, right? But what we're seeing is evidences of world-renowned talent, obvious world-renowned talent that has mastered an ability to find a harmonic vibration among a society that has not desired that harmonic vibration and in fact has worked against it. And yet those harmonic vibrations are maintained. So now, if we have a people group that we know of that has that, we know that there are other people groups that have it similarly.
Mhm.
Right?
Very true. Very true.
It exists, and there's a model for that to always exist. And this is something that we've done before.
Yep.
It'd simply be a matter of let's start paying attention to where that type one band, one sound. Who's not saying one band, one sound?
Well, that's very clear who's
Is it-
saying that.
It's, at that point, it becomes very obvious.
Yeah.
With the example that I gave before about offering hospitality,
Yeah.
right, to our foreign immigrants,
Mhm.
well, it becomes very easy to understand.
You listen to the rhetoric,
who
it
is
becomes
actually
clear.
violent.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is when we craft an environment
Yeah.
that is harmonic by design, and we start to say, okay, well, come on in, right? You've come to the border.
Yep.
Already, you've done the work to get here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right or wrong or indifferent.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Uh-huh.
We'll treat you well.
Yeah.
Okay. But now, as we treat you well, now it becomes obvious who is a bad actor among the people who we're treating well. See, the thing about hospitality is it's not just good business, it's good security. Because great hospitality, you can't come into great hospitality and then fake the funk.
Exactly right. Your guard comes down, you become very genuine.
You have to.
You have to.
In order to take part.
Yeah.
In order to, because there's an expectation for your contribution.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you cannot contribute harmonic vibrations, that means that you are disharmonic.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
so to the point that you
Yes.
just made,
Yes.
when there's an element that is not in harmony
Yeah.
and you can see that, it's very obvious.
It's obvious.
Wow, you just gave me something
the
I'm gonna
o-
start
and-
responding to.
And
Okay.
the only note
Yes.
the only note that can offend the harmony
Yes.
and sustain is the dissonant harmonic note.
Interesting.
The dissonant
that
harmonic
is-
note
Yes,
is the
yes,
note
yes.
that has found its place.
Yes. It's there.
It is
Among-
definitely there.
It's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be there.
But its only
Yes.
purpose is
and it's
to
not
disrupt.
going to,
That's
it's right. And it's not going to blend in. It's going to stand out.
Yeah.
Right. And also, it will not destroy the harmony. But the thing about the harmonic note or the dissonant harmonic note is it's the culmination of all of them.
True.
It's the genesis point of all of those other notes.
True.
Why? Because that one dissonant harmonic note has the ability to be both dissonant
That's correct.
and it controls the resolve.
It's like noise canceling headphones.
If that dissonant harmonic note doesn't resolve, but the dissonant note, the dissonant harmonic note can resolve too,
It can.
and
I-
that's the
yes.
beauty of it.
Okay. So as a professional musician for years, right? I recall one of the things during warm-ups, for example, if I'm conducting an orchestra and I say, everyone, time for warm-ups. Someone goes to the piano, hits a middle C. Next thing I know, everyone in different sections, da, 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 or someone's going, da, 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 ding, 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 and I hear all this, and finally, da, 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 and finally everyone gets to the note and you're playing it. But the disharmonic as you're getting to it is exactly what I'm hearing you talk about. But when you finally get to that note, everyone's in tune, in sync, in harmony. That's the amazing beauty of what can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna adopt from this conversation today. The next time I encounter someone talking out their butt, you're out of tune. What
Yeah.
you're, what notes are you singing?
Yeah.
Something-
It's different
to
to
that
be out of
effect.
tune
It
than
really is.
when you're playing a
Yeah.
dissonant harmonic note.
There it is.
You're contributing to the harmony
There it
too.
is. Yeah.
We're adding interest, we're adding intrigue, we're
Yes.
adding suspense,
Yeah.
right? Like that's creating something,
Yes.
right? There's a relationship to the
Yes.
disharmonic
Yeah.
note.
Yeah.
right? Or to the dissonant harmonic note. But when you are out of tune,
Yes.
or when you are not playing
Yeah.
Yes.
with the rest of, right?
Right.
Then
Right.
that,
Yeah. What song are you playing?
So
yeah, that has to be called out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's like three different elements here, right? I think there is to be in harmony. There is to be out of tune is the second category. And the third category is to be in disharmony, right?
Dissonance. Dissonance.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
and that is an exact contrast to harmony, right? And so that almost has that not almost,
It does.
it needs to be intentional.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
In order for it to be complementary,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's got to be complementary and intentional.
Yeah.
So, but most people aren't there, right? Either you're in harmony or you're out of tune. I think
Yeah.
for the most of us, as we're walking through our day, we're often just out of tune.
Yeah.
Right. And so to be able to observe what's happening. And so I think, going back to the sense of control, using your orchestra scenario,
Okay.
if I'm in D, I can't just force the rest of the orchestra just to go into D
Right.
because I said so.
Right.
Right.
However, I remember playing in jazz bands where if I played a bad note, there were some people so skilled, they could do some improvisation and incorporate my out of tune into the overall scheme of what we're doing.
Yes.
So I'm like, da 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 da. Look at then they can come back with
They'll
the
take-
echo back.
Yes.
It's like, oh,
Those
all
are
of a
the
sudden
people
it's
who are
become
skilled in the dissonance of
That's
harmonic
exactly right.
notes.
Exactly
They
right.
can pull, and
You're
they're
exactly
the
right.
ones who understand, overstand, and
Yes.
have mastered. How do we incorporate the dissonance of the
That's exactly
harmonic
right.
note
Yeah.
into the rest of the band?
The
They
full
pay,
range.
attention
That's exactly right.
to that dissonant harmonic note.
Exactly right.
Because that dissonant harmonic note can set a tune, it can set a
Yes.
temperature,
Yeah.
it can set an
Yes.
environment and atmosphere when we pay attention to it.
Yep.
When we ignore that, that's how we end up out of tune.
But what's interesting about the example that you just gave
Mhm.
is because other people were paying attention what was happening,
To the whole.
they were able to they had no control
Mhm.
over what note you were about to play next.
Yes.
But because they were plugged in
Yes.
to what
Yes.
was happening,
Yes.
Yeah.
they were able to adapt and adjust and bring you back in.
Absolutely. I was blessed to be able to perform years ago. Quincy Jones was coordinating everything, right? Boom, 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 boom. Heard something, then he went over, started doing something else on the piano, pulled everything together. I was like, okay, this all worked. But it takes a skilled master to do that type of thing, oftentimes. But when he's looking at the whole, he said, we are one instrument. We are an orchestra, but we are one instrument. And that was the beauty of that.
Yeah.
So it's great to have somebody with that skill set to be able to pull it together. And then later on, you can reflect on it like we're doing right now and say,
Yeah.
wow, that was really amazing that you were able to do that. And I mean,
That was a sacred statement, man.
well,
What you just said was kind of like really a big deal. Like I've heard one band, one sound.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Saying it just a little bit differently in the way that you did, like we are one instrument.
One instrument. And that's what he said to us.
One instrument is that resonates differently than one band,
Hey,
Yeah.
right? Because when we think about the connotation of a band, it's still piece part. When we say that we
Yeah.
are one instrument,
that's it.
that means the expectation of that one instrument must be the way that you get to the end sound
Yes.
is united.
Yes, 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 yes. Man,
That's heavy, man.
yeah, it's been some blessings, and it's great how this pulls in those memories of different events, man. Memories. I think I've shared with you before. I've been able to be in choirs that have sung around the world with my sons, and in singing with the Philadelphia Boys Choir travels around. They sing for the Pope. We sang for Obama, all that kind of stuff, and to sometimes go out of tune, but then the one group all wants to make sure it pulls back together. That same philosophy goes into action. And then at the very end, you're able to give a gift of that song, of that message to the audience, to that recipient, because it's a gift at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still feel connected from the conversations we all got to have with Obama. He was signing his book and all this kind of stuff with us. afterwards and took a group picture and everything. But it really felt like we had given a gift, united, giving a gift mutually. And that experience will linger forever in my head. And my sons and I are closer because we shared that moment too. Because we can go back to it and say, da-da-da-da, yeah, remember that time? Yeah. And all of a sudden they're 10 and 11 years old again.
Yeah.
It's like, man. So it's like,
And that's what's beautiful about being in harmony and being in resonance, right? We think of it as a musical thing, but I think with Black folks in particular,
yeah,
it is a very physical thing. It's a very physical thing,
yeah,
right? I've been to in the Caribbean to different carnivals,
okay,
right? And it's when the music starts playing, and I'm sure you've both experienced this, and,
Oh, yeah.
and what you're describing
Yeah.
sounds similar.
yeah,
It sounds like the same, right? Where you're in the environment and the music is playing, but it's bigger than the music.
oh yeah.
It's
the energy, man.
It's the energy, and you can feel it.
Yep.
And you know, when you get to Carnival, like everybody's dancing.
Yep.
Everybody's dancing,
Yeah.
and it's just love
Joy.
everywhere. It's
Yeah.
joy
Yeah.
and love. Nobody's fighting.
Yep.
Nobody's angry.
Right.
Everybody's
Celebrating life.
stepping on each other's feet, bumping into each other, and sweaty
Yeah.
and hot,
Yeah.
and nobody cares. And once that moment passes,
yeah.
it's gone,
You said it again. You were exactly right.
right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we can always have that memory.
Yeah.
We can always go back to that memory.
Yeah.
We know what that moment felt like.
Yeah.
And we can try to put ourselves back into similar situations in the future.
You know how feel
Yeah.
the way you felt at that time.
Yeah.
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 Very,
I
very
got to
true.
participate in Preview's marching band,
Okay.
Yeah.
and I had
And with the drums.
all of that.
Man.
I hadn't played at all in high school actually.
Okay.
So I came in my freshman year, and the movie Drumline had come out like literally
Okay.
the year before.
Okay.
So and many people don't realize, but that movie had a large portion of it derived from Preview's band specifically because we featured our drum line.
Okay.
Mm.
Like it was called the box. We feature the
Yeah.
box
Yeah.
in every performance, right? And so it was very much that mentality. What I learned while participating in that group is the level of self-discipline among those musicians was otherworldly.
Mm.
And I teach my children, I was saying, hey, listen, that is, anytime you see a band or an orchestra,
Yeah.
a group of people who are able to execute very well all
Yeah.
together, especially in a marching band, if they can be that loud
Yeah.
and also together,
Yeah.
it's a very dangerous group of people because it's made up of people who are so self-disciplined.
Yep.
They're not thrown about.
Yeah.
All that's
Yes.
a very, very specific group of folks.
Yep.
They're very sensitive. Why? Because they're the ones who carry the moment.
And
They're the ones who craft that moment from the first in the first place that we can all then go and we can reminisce on that moment. But also they're the ones who are going to come back and create the next one too.
That's
That's
very
And the
true.
next one too.
That's very true.
And the next one after that.
Yeah.
And
that's very
there's
true.
going to be the same folk because they're the ones that are disciplined.
Very
And they're
true.
going to teach the people who come after them to be just as disciplined. And if they don't lose their self-discipline, they'll continue, but they'll become the conductors.
Yeah.
They'll become the
Yeah.
section leaders, right? They're going to evolve into that instrument, that body that is creating the harmony among
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that being that band member who's part of the band, you have a very specific job to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
And I hesitate to use the word that you have an instrument,
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
but you have a tool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That you are participating in the broader instrument. And in order to, you have to submit all control to the instrument
Very true.
in order to, you have a job to do within the band. And it's not about your own self-control.
Yeah.
You can't control what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not one person
No.
can control what's
Right.
going to happen.
Right.
Even like maybe the marching band isn't the best example, but jazz musicians is a good example. That there's nobody that has control, and somebody can make a mistake, and other people can compensate for
That's
that
it.
mistake
There you go.
to
There you go.
to could carry it forward.
That's it.
It's
Yes,
bigger than any one
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say the marching band is also a good example
Yeah.
because I made mistakes. I made mistakes coming in because I was fresh. I hadn't had any marching experience previous. And I relied on other members of the band to accommodate, to issue grace, sometimes mercy. Right. All right. Like that's the very real reality.
Yeah.
And I think it translates really back, very well back to the original concept, which is, when we were thinking about human systems and how we are progressing towards new visions, how we're organizing among ourselves, right? Having that group of folks who understand how to pay attention to a note and say, oh, that note could have either been out of tune or it could be a dissonant harmonic note. And it would become a dissonant harmonic note if we jump into this other scale real quick, right? We can go back and pick our brother or sister up, reincorporate them into the main melody, and now the instrument as a whole is producing great sound that we don't have to get rid of, right?
True.
I think that's really important.